Hello and welcome. The chair calls the Education Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 to order. We do have a quorum present. And Representative Bennett, you've had a chance to review the minutes, and I believe there's a small technical correction on the second page.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. The small technical correction, and thanks to these experts, the smart people sitting next to me, they're approved with the technical correction.
Very good. So members, at the top of the second page, House File 3900 instead of 3490. So Chair Bennett moves the minutes with the technical corrections. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Members, we're going to start with a presentation from the Little Falls Community Schools to give us an update on their Career Pathways Aviation and CDL Transportation Program. My thanks to Chair Joachim, who helped us get this done a couple years ago. And so at that point, we're going to bring in remotely Mark Deal, Eric LeBlanc, and Peter Masterjohn, and we'll get you up.
Thank you. Where is everybody today?
Do you have them? I'm just waiting to see them come up live. Eric or Peter, if you want to just say something, we'll see if that kicks the audio and the video in, and then I'll do your introductions.
All right, this is Eric.
There we are.
Go ahead, test.
So Eric and Peter, who welcome. Mr. Masterjohn, Mr. LeBlanc, if each of you would just say your name for the record and then go ahead and begin your presentation.
Okay, my name is Eric LeBlanc. I teach industrial technology at the Little Falls High School, and I am teaching the CDL portion of our Transportation Academy. Just to give you a quick layout of our program, there's several things that you need to do nowadays to get a commercial driver's license. One is complete the federal training that went into effect February of 2022. And that's what we're trying to do with this class, is get the kids prepared for the classroom portion. It's just like the old days when you went and got your Class D driver's license, you had to do a classroom portion before you could get your permit and do any driving behind the wheel. So it's called ELDT, Entry Level Driver Training. We use the JJ Keeler software. It's federally accredited, so it meets all the requirements for our high school students. Then we spend about 1/4 of our semester doing the state classroom work. And once we complete that, the students go to the state to any driver's motor vehicle station, and they can take their written permit test. Once they've achieved their written permit test, then they can go on to their road and range training. And that has to be done by a certified driving school or certified driving instructor. And that's our next step. We're looking forward to moving to in the future is trying to get some of the road and range training available for our students here at the high school. We currently only do the classroom portion. We team up with Central Minnesota Truck Academy, and they've been providing us with the driving instruction and the hands-on training for the students outside of the school day. So far in our program, I've serviced about 120 students in 3 years. 15% roughly have been girls. And we're really seeing an uptake in young ladies and young women that are getting interested in commercial driving and the construction trades. So that's really nice to see. We have some unique relationships with some area schools. Pierce High School, which is just 15 miles to the east of us here. They send over about 20 students a year in partnership with Little Falls to get their kids through the CDL training. I also get a handful of kids from Uppsala. They're about 15 miles southwest of us. And then Royalton High School as well. They're just 10 miles directly south. They send some students up our way to get through the classroom portion of the driver's training. Mr. Masterjohn is not able to be here, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Deal. He can talk a little bit about the aviation.
Very good. Mr. Deal, please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Deal with Little Falls Schools. I'm in charge of operations and have overseen this project from the beginning. So Peter Masterjohn, our aviation instructor, is tied up in another class and not going to be able to make it down at the moment. But just real briefly, so we offer the ground school portion of the federal aviation requirement to get a private pilot's license. And Peter has been trained in the AOPA curriculum and also uses some other resources that are available to him to provide that ground school instruction to our students. He's had between 15 and 20 students in the previous years in that class. This semester, he's got about 24 students in that class. And so we're seeing an increase in interest from students that want to be able to obtain their private pilot's license. Much like with the CDL side, we partner with the local partner, Lakes Area Aviation, which is a flight school here in Little Falls. So students that want to go on and obtain that private pilot's license and go through their flight hours can do that through Lakes Area Aviation. That comes at a cost to those students. But one of the ways that we're able to help offset that cost is if you look behind me, there's that white and red unit is actually a flight simulator that we can have students in obtaining some of their hours, their required 40 hours that they need to meet in the simulator. It also gives the students a chance to come down for extra practice. So that's been really good. And actually, Mr. Masterjohn just walked in the room. So Peter, state your name.
I'm Peter Masterjohn, and I teach mathematics and aviation at Little Falls Community High School.
So behind us, additionally, can you slide up to the side? You see those blue screens, that's actually our CDL simulator. So we have a simulator that students can get into and utilize, practice. We allow them to practice individually and independently. They also can do practice in groups. And so you can see that that simulator provides them with some real world experience. It's about as real as being in a truck cab as you can get without there being without actually being in a truck. And our flight simulator also, we allow students to come in and utilize that independently. Those that are in the private or are working towards their private pilot's license and need to work on some skills so that they can ultimately pass their flight test. So that, Mr. Representative Kresha, Mr. Chair Kresha, any questions you have for us or anything you would like us to touch on more?
No, thanks for showing. Just quickly, Mr. LeBlanc or Mr. Masterjohn, if one of you would share one quick success story that stands out.
Probably for me on the CDL side, I see a lot of students that are not our typical A honor roll students that are college bound on a college track, looking for a real high paying, high prestigious career like a doctor, lawyer, things like that. I get the hands-on kids that sometimes can be a little rough around the edges, maybe haven't had all the opportunities growing up that other kids have had, and getting them in a truck and providing them the opportunity to have a career that's going to make them a good fair wage and make them feel good about themselves. One student in particular, he didn't have a whole lot growing up. Anytime anybody mentioned college, he kind of got real shy because he didn't feel like he had the means to go to college or the funds or even the academic side to qualify. So we got him in a truck and got him driving. I think he's his third season now with Knife River Corporation, driving belly dump, doing real well for himself. I just heard he bought a house and going to start a family. So this has provided him an opportunity to do something other than just your service work jobs. He's going to make a real career for himself and do very well. So he's pretty proud. He stopped back a couple times so far. He comes talk to my classes, and just a good opportunity for a student that may not have had the means to do anything like this in his future without it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. I have one question, then I'm going to do a comment from my co-chair, Representative Green.
Thank you so much, Chair Krisha. I just have a question. I'm super curious about you mentioned at the beginning of your testimony about the relationship with Little Falls and other schools and other students coming from other schools. Is that outside your school district? So are you crossing into other districts? And if so, how is that being coordinated? And this might be a better conversation offline, but I just think it's really innovative.
Yeah, so Mr. Deal, maybe you can answer that the best, but the question is, how are you working and articulating with other districts? You've opened this up to, I believe, 4 or 5 districts that I'm aware, but I'll let you just talk to that and how you've established that relationship.
Yeah, we've opened it up to all the school districts within Morrison County. So that would be Upsala, Piers, Royalton, and Swanville school districts. What we do is we open up the falls section of the course. So Eric teaches the course in the fall semester and the spring semester. The fall section is opened up. We do it first hour of the day. So right away at 8 o'clock, which means that way students can easily get back to their other building and not have to miss a lot of class time in their home district. It's a very small fee that we charge to the other schools. Basically, we use a model that we pay the same that we would pay or the other districts pay the same amount that they would pay for a CIS class, like from Central Lakes College. That was the model that we used. And so I think it works out to about $400 per student that the other districts pay to have their students take a course here in Little Falls.
Thank you. Chair Joachim, do you have any comments? Okay. Again, I want to thank Chair Joachim, who helped get this program. Mr. Deal, Mr. LeBlanc, Mr. Masterjohn, thank you very much for your time. I know you took time away from the class, and really appreciate it. So with that, members, we are going to move on to House File 3489, and we'll have a little flexibility in the agenda as we try to get through all that we have. So Chair Bennett, if you would come up. Representative Bennett, as she gets settled, Representative Bennett will move House File 3489 to be re-referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, where the bill will await a fiscal note. Representative Bennett, please identify yourself for the record and present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Peggy Bennett. I will be brief. This has been through a number of committees, and thank you for hearing it here as well. I just want to say this issue of the grooming in schools is a huge one. I've got some testifiers here. I'm going to turn it over to them to give you more information on the bill, but I want to say this has a special place in my heart for 2 reasons. One, after meeting Hannah, you'll hear her story, Detective Chad here, and so many others who have reached out to me. It's a really important subject. It's also important to me because when I was in 10th grade, I was groomed by my band director. So it's an issue we need to deal with. Mr. Chair, if you're okay with it, we'll move on to our testifiers, starting with
Very
Hannah.
good. Go ahead and state your name and begin your testimony.
My name is Hannah Lopresto. I am a victim survivor of grooming and sexual assault by my high school band teacher when I was a student from 2012 to 2016 at Egan High School. Co-chairs Krisha and Joachim and members, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House File 3489. As a high schooler, I played percussion and had the same band teacher each year. Early on, this teacher made me feel special by asking me to help him organize music or move instruments after class. Over the course of the 4 years, he slowly began to isolate me from friends and family, normalize touching me and communicating as if we were close friends. On an international band trip to Greece, this escalated to him showing a romantic interest in me, manipulating seating charts so I was always next to him on the airplane, and pulling me away from the group on tours. Back at school, he used religion as a form of control, stating that God put me in his life for a reason and made me believe that I had to marry him because of the things I had done. On the morning of my last day of high school, he sexually assaulted me in the band lesson room. He put his hands down the back of my pants and the front of my shirt. I froze and I cried. That same day, he sent me a photograph of a handwritten note saying, "My love for you will always exist. It will last forever." I graduated the next day, and the sexual abuse continued into my early college years. Due to the years of grooming, I believed that I was an active participant in my abuse and that I had caused it to happen. I did not tell anyone the full story until Detective Chad Clausen from the Eagan Police Department found me during the investigation into this teacher in 2022. In tandem with the police investigation, there was also an MDE maltreatment investigation. But because my abuse had occurred over 3 years ago, I was never interviewed by MDE and the evidence of my abuse was not considered. The consequence of this was great. While the police report concluded that there was probable cause that this teacher had sexually assaulted me, a student, on school property, MDE did not determine that maltreatment occurred. This meant that Pelsby was not aware of this maltreatment, and this teacher still had a valid teaching license at the conclusion of both investigations. When MDE is not permitted to look back more than 3 years, our K-12 students pay the price of that. Often when I share that I was groomed and sexually assaulted, most people focus in on the sexual assaults as being the most horrific and impactful. But for me, the 5+ years of grooming were even more harmful to my long-term health and well-being. It is crucial that MDE is able to look back further than 3 years because maltreatment, especially in the forms of grooming and other sexual abuse, can take years to surface. When evidence of educator maltreatment does surface, no matter how much later, action must be taken to protect our K-12 students from future harm. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just simply say, don't let my matter-of-factness and me being in the chair mask the incredible amount of admiration for your courage. So that's a phenomenal story. Mr. Clausen, please state your name and begin your testimony.
My name is Chad Clausen. I'm a detective with the Eagan Police Department. Co-chairs Krisha and Joachim and members, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House File 3489. I'm the detective who investigated Hannah's case. Although there were no criminal charges, that outcome was not due to a lack of probable cause. It was due to gaps in Minnesota law in 2016 regarding positions of authority in high school students. Some of those gaps were addressed in 2021, but others remain, many of which are included in this bill. MDE investigations and grooming. Grooming a minor with the intent to sexually abuse them has already been established in 13 states as a felony. Grooming is the deliberate, slow process of building a false sense of trust with the child, with the intent of making future sexual abuse easier, regardless whether any sexual violence occurs. During the investigation, I observed a clear playbook used to groom multiple students. The volume and content of the communication was alarming, with repeated phrases, themes, and tactics used to manipulate and control students. Delayed disclosure is common in grooming and sexual abuse cases, and this was true with Hannah. I first interviewed Hannah in April of 2022, nearly 6 years after she graduated high school. Because of the 3-year limitation, Hannah was never interviewed by MDE investigators. Under current law, even a 3rd grader who discloses sexual abuse from their kindergarten years would be excluded from an MDE investigation. Preventing investigations solely based on time protect offenders, not students. Removing the 3-year limit allows MDE to conduct a complete investigation. In closing, Hannah endured over 5 years of grooming, a trauma that deeply impacted her life, and still the perpetrator faced no consequences. Grooming is a process committed over years and can take just as long or longer for survivors to disclose. When MDE cannot investigate incidents older than 3 years, this allows predators to remain in the classroom. These proposals are practical, preventative, they focused on child safety, they target predatory behavior, not educators. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clausen. Thank you for your work on this matter, and thank you for your testimony. I believe we have MDE. Mr. Dosh. Mr. Uni, state your, sorry, I said it the wrong way. Mr. Uni, please state your name for the record and begin your testimony. It's been a day.
Members, my name is Adosh Uni. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Minnesota Department of Education, and thank you for the opportunity to provide comments on Chair Bennett's HF 3489. And I appreciate the multiple opportunities to connect with Chair Bennett on this very important proposal. And I just want to be clear that MDE shares the commitment to strengthening protections for students and ensuring that schools remain safe, supportive environments for all children. This bill advances several goals that align with MDE's values. particularly by expanding tools to prevent grooming and sexual exploitation, improving reporting pathways, and reinforcing accountability measures for adults in the educational environment who violate student trust. MDE appreciates the bill's clear intent to enhance student safety, close gaps in existing statutory protections, and support a coordinated system response when maltreatment is suspected. Much of the approach in this proposal is supported by national research, defining grooming as a reportable maltreatment concern and its role as a precursor to abuse, training mandates, immediate response investigations, screening guidelines expansion, and separating of duties via supervisory structure. Grooming is a predictable, detectable pattern that precedes sexual abuse, and existing systems often miss this. This has contributed to underreporting of grooming, which is exacerbated by screening challenges due to the complexity of the fact patterns. National research is clear that given these complexities, adequate resourcing is necessary for maltreatment investigations because investigative systems fail when caseloads exceed staff capacity, when oversight is insufficient, and when screening bottlenecks delay investigative action. We're committed to fulfilling our role with rigor and integrity and believe successful implementation of new responsibilities for our school maltreatment program will require careful consideration of workload and appropriate resources to ensure that cases are handled compassionately and in a timely fashion to provide justice and avoid re-victimization. Overall, MDE supports the bill's underlying goals of improving student safety, expanding protections for vulnerable learners, and ensuring that grooming behaviors are recognized, reported, and addressed. MDE remains committed to investigating all allegations of student maltreatment with integrity, transparency, and a deep focus on student well-being. The department stands ready to work collaboratively to ensure the final legislation is both strong in its protection and effective in its administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rooney. Representative Bennett, if it's okay, we're going to go to member discussion and then come back. Members. Chair Youakim.
Oh, if you want to go to me last.
Let me do Representative Quam first. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And coming from being on a school board, too often times I saw bad actors, as soon as there was a hint of investigation, go to other schools. And then, you know, at some point they were caught. I am very pleased that with this bill you're bringing forth, it'd be nice if HR would be able to share, you know, if as an administrator, a teacher, a staff person from one school district, if they're going to be interviewed by another school district, that HR, you know, the personnel file would be shared because they've got the same protections. And hopefully that would prevent at an earlier level the bad actors, because they tarnish all these wonderful people that work in our schools. But thank you so much for your bill.
Thank you. Chair Youakim.
Will I be the wrap-up, or?
Yeah, we can go to wrap up, and I don't have anybody else on the list. So.
Okay, great. I just want to thank Representative Bennett for working on this bill, and also Representative Verdig and Representative Breyer, who've also worked on this issue starting last year. And thank you to Hannah Lopresto for coming forward. I can't even imagine how hard that was. Representative Bennett, you and I had a discussion yesterday on the floor. I just want to make sure I understand, because I know you've done the work going to children's and families and public safety, and there's kind of some open fiscal notes. Can you explain just briefly what those two open fiscal notes are looking at, so we know?
Chair Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and yes, thank you for bringing that up, Chair Youakim. So we have possible fiscal components for the felony portion, which would involve prison beds, public safety, and then potentially with MDE for the look back and costs there. I haven't heard from Children, Youth, and Families for the training module. That fiscal note hasn't come back, but I am committed, and I'd like to see this moved on to Ways and Means. We'll let it sit there. When I get the fiscal note, we will work out the fiscal issues before we bring it forward. And that's my commitment there.
Very good. Chair Youakim.
Thank you, Chair Creasy, and thank you, Representative, for being committed. That's why I think I I think we're comfortable moving this forward to Ways and Means because you've promised to have that worked on in Ways and Means. We usually don't like to send out open fiscal notes to Ways and Means, but I think this is a unique case and would ask members to vote yes.
Very good. And with that, closing comments, Representative Bennett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Bennett. Representative Bennett renews her motion to re-refer House File 3489 to Ways and Means. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. And with that, your bill is on the way. Members, with that, we're going to move on to the first item on the agenda, House File 3490. So members, today we will consider House File 3490. If you remember, we heard this bill on March 10th, adopted the author's amendments, and heard from 8 testifiers and devoted the entire remainder of the committee time just to that bill. As we concluded the discussion, I laid the bills over, and I was hoping that we would get some more conversations with that to keep talking about it. However, Governor Walz has taken an exercise not to opt in, and in fact, today's comments basically said we should just go home if we're not going to work with them. That was not the intent. He has now put out a budget with a $50 million cut to special education. And so as promised, members, I'll be bringing the bill back up for a vote. I'll allow Chair Youakim to make some comments on that. But this bill has already been vetted and had a number of testimonies. So with that, Chair Youakim, if you'd like to make some comments.
First, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask for a roll call.
Roll call requested, Grannon.
And Mr. Chair, I think I see some of my members that didn't get a chance to chat about this last time would like some brief comments.
How many do you have? I can give you about 2 minutes, but I do need to move on to the rest of the amendments, so.
I think they're deciding which one wants to talk.
I can give one. If not, all right, member, do you have someone? Okay, if not, members, we're going to go ahead and go right to the vote. So,
Mr.
Chair Youakim, do you have some comments?
Yes, I do have closing comments.
Thank you.
I think the reason why we did have a full discussion, and we had a big discussion in our side of the aisle last night, just as a reminder, this is not money to students, it's not money to our public schools. This is money that a tax cut provided would give people an opportunity to donate to a scholarship granting organization that is not defined well in statute, that would not have the oversight necessary for the dollars they're giving out, and would predominantly help our private schools and not our public schools. It has been completely misrepresented, and I think that's why you're seeing the governor say he is not going to opt in. But with that, members, I'd ask for a no vote.
Thank you, Chair Youakim. Members, the choice is simple. I think we have conversations here on that. Governor Walz has taken the lead in cutting with another $50 million. In his own comments, he said he won't opt in unless we cut non-public and non-public transportation. We hear concerns that the donations will be directed away from public schools. I just simply don't believe that. We have other states that have done this. More than 90% of our students attend public schools, and I would expect that 90% of parents direct their donations to the public schools. As I told one interview on the radio today, I'm trying to find how educational generosity can open up avenues of revenue for our schools, not close down opportunities. And so simply, if Governor Walz doesn't want to fund education, then the least we can do is let parents use their own money to help fund these schools. And so with that, with a roll call, I will call for a vote.
Chair Carisha.
Chair Krisha votes aye.
Chair Youakim.
No.
Vice Chair Bakeberg.
Bakeberg votes yes.
Vice Chair Clardy.
Clardy, no.
Representative Altendorf.
Altendorf, yes.
Representative Bonner.
No.
Representative Bennett.
Aye.
Representative DePel.
DePel votes yes.
Representative Engen.
Engen votes yes.
Representative Green.
Green votes no.
Representative Hill.
Hill votes no.
Representative Hudson.
Hudson votes aye.
Representative Johnson.
No.
Representative Lee.
No.
Representative Knutson.
Knutson votes aye.
Representative Lawrence.
Lawrence votes aye.
Representative Mueller.
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Perez Vega.
Perez Vega, no.
Representative Quam.
Yes.
Representative Ream.
No.
Representative Ray Rauer.
No.
Representative Reimer.
Aye.
Representative Sensor Mira.
No.
Representative Vernig.
No.
Members, there being 12 ayes and 12 nays, and there being fewer than 13 ayes necessary for the motion to carry, the motion does not prevail. With that, the chair lays over House File 3490 as amended. Members, we're going to move on to 3650, Representative Mueller, and before we do that, Representative Green, you have a couple guests. Would you like to introduce those as Representative Mueller is coming up to the testifier stand?
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Krisha. I have some student interns from Edina High School in the back corner. You guys just wave.
You can stand up.
Yeah,
Please do.
go ahead, stand up. Yeah. We have some interested in going into law enforcement and going into public policy over the next couple of years, so it's been a great experience here. I met with Chair Krisha before the meeting, so thank you.
And so with that, Representative Green, I'll allow a little bit of applause. Representative Mueller, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair. I think I would like to move House 3650 in front of the committee, but I also have an amendment that I need to move, please.
So Representative Mueller moves to the table. Representative Mueller moves House File 3650 to the Committee on Higher Education. You do have an author's amendment, so the motion is to take this to the Higher Ed
That's
Committee.
the motion to take it to
And
higher ed, yes.
You have an author's amendment, the A26, is that correct?
A26, correct.
Would you like to speak to that briefly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The A26 is the amendment that I have that is off of lots of different discussions with the agencies, and and so this is the author's amendment. I'm hoping that it will go on, and I can be able to further discuss the bill.
As is the custom, we usually accept the author's amendment. Do you have any comments, Chair Yukim? With that, all those in favor of the A26, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Representative Mueller, House File 3650 as amended is in front of the committee. Redundantly, please introduce yourself and begin testifying of your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Representative Patricia Mueller down in 23B in Austin, Minnesota. As a teacher for over 20 years, I'm very excited to be able to bring this bill to you. The state of California is looking at what it's like to have a system, a framework that brings student career pathways. And I'm really excited for our bill to be able to do that. You know, as we start thinking about education career pathways, we have to understand that we have a lot of course, my computer decided to shut off. Here we are. We have a lot of schools and businesses that are doing a lot of really amazing things, but a lot of it is siloed. And so when we start talking about career pathways, we need a statewide framework that we're able to do this. In 2018, we had a work-based learning model policy came out, and they said that to ensure high school students have equitable access to high-quality work-based learning experiences designed to prepare them for post-secondary and workforce success in high-demand occupation, that they have to have a comprehensive policy approach that should include single and clear statewide definition, development of state strategic plan, designated early entities, establishment of state and regional intermediates, and clear communication, private-public partnership. And when I took on this bill, which I'm very excited to do, it was at Workforce, and I had a question from Chair Pinto asking if I had been working with the agencies. And I said, well, I didn't have any agencies coming and testified against the bill. And so he just said, I would really like you to be able to go back and look at the agencies and also look at any fiscal costs. I had a meeting with the agencies. At that point, they did not talk to me at all about a fiscal cost. The only feedback I received was from higher ed, which is looking at expanding the education attainment goals, which is what you will see in Section 2 of the A26 amendment of expanding the education attainment goals. To mitigate any costs, I went ahead and worked with P20 about how to shift responsibility from the agencies to create this framework to our wide-angle lens of a commission that is already established in statute of P20. P20 talks about how they work within the seams of education, and they are in a unique position to bring everyone to the table and examine evidence-based practices. They look at evidence-based practices that states have already established, such as mastery-based credits, a statewide profile of learning of a graduate, looking at K-16 alignment, core competencies, and expanding apprenticeships and internship opportunities. I want to be able to explain that if you look at subdivision 4, of section 1, that is where P20 has their responsibilities. And when I showed this to them, they were very enthusiastic about it. And if you look farther on, the implementation for the agencies is not until 2028. I have requested a fiscal note twice and still have not received it. So I was working in good faith with Chair Youakim about where to send this bill, and she suggested that I send it to higher education. Higher education did not want it, but in order to continue to keep the bill alive so that we could keep working on a fiscal note that I don't know what's going to show yet, I have negotiated again in good faith with Chair Youakim and agreed upon sending it to higher education. I have several testifiers, and so I'd like to turn it over to them, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have a couple testifiers with us today, and testifiers, just to remind you, we have a policy for students that you only have to use your first name if you'd like. So with that, let's go ahead to your first testifier.
Yeah.
Please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Okay. My name is Lakin Kennedy. Good afternoon to both chairmen. I'm here to provide testimony in support of House File 36.
And I'm sorry, pronounce your first name again.
Lakin Kennedy.
Lakin.
Lincoln,
My
thank
first
you.
name, yes, sir.
So all my years with loud engines around me. Thank you.
Yeah. With that, I'm currently a senior at Jefferson High School in Bloomington, and throughout my high school experience, I've always pushed myself to learn and grow as much as possible. I am enrolled in PSEO at Normandale Community College, and I've taken multiple AP courses to challenge myself academically. Beyond the classroom at Jefferson, I serve as president at Black Student Union, where I lead and organize events that promote cultural awareness, inclusion, community engagement. I'm also a student council representative helping plan school-wide activities and a Pathfinder leader where I mentor freshmen and help them adjust to high school. I've also actively sought out opportunities outside of schools to grow as a leader. I participated in Minnesota's business venture where I developed in business and leadership skills. I completed the Bloomington internship with the City of Bloomington's Communication Department, where I worked with city leaders and gained hands-on experience in marketing, communication, and professional networking. One of the most impactful programs I've been a part of is COLAD, and why I'm here, which provides students guaranteed platforms to build connections, gain real-world experience, and work directly with leaders like senators, CEOs, and business professionals. It gives students access to opportunities that many would not normally have to prepare us for future careers. Another program that has shaped me is BEST, Black Educated Successful Thriving, which is not just a program, but a brotherhood focused on developing young men through long-term mentorship, support, and guidance. It has helped me grow academically, professionally, and personally. In addition, I've given back to my community by volunteering with churches, supporting the homeless in Minneapolis, and working with VEEP to support families in need. Through all this experience, I've developed strong leadership, communication, and entrepreneur skills. And I plan to attend Morehouse College or Howard University to achieve my master's in business administration. And this is why all this matters. While being a student at Jefferson High School offers many opportunities. I had to actively seek out many of these opportunities on my own. Not every student knows or has access to opportunities like COLAD, BEST, Minnesota Business Venture, Bloomington, and more. These programs have all played a major role in shaping my future by providing real-world experience, mentorship, leadership development, and strong professional networking. All students should have access to opportunities like this, not just the most ambitious or well-connected students. If programs like CoLab Best, Minnesota Business Venture, and Bloom and Bloomington were more widely available and integrated into schools across the state, more students would graduate with confidence, direction, and a clear plan for the future. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House File 3650. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you and well done.
And I have an additional testifier,
Yep,
Mr. Chair.
Representative
Thank you
Mueller
so
to your
much.
next testifier. Please state your name, and remember, you only have to use your first name if you'd like, and begin your testimony.
My name is Hibak Abdullahi. I'm former Edison High School graduate, and I have right now the chance to work with that school. So I'm here today to share my experience that I received from Career and College Center that was through Achievement Twin City. I had access to college and Career and College Center, the chance to go to a law firm internship because my dream was to be a lawyer at the beginning, and I realized when after I did the internship at the law firm that I didn't want to be in an office and work as a lawyer, and more like work at the school and be change students' life the way they did it for me at the Career and College Center, mentoring me and helping me, getting me ready for college. I graduated high school with my siblings the same year, so we didn't thought that we will have the chance to go to all of us to college. So because of the college tours that they provided us, helped us and showed us like which colleges will be benefited to us, and that's how me and my siblings were able like to decide on which college that we were able to go to. And I believe like every student should have access to like mentors and offices like that, college and career centers.
Agreed. Thank you for your testimony. And I believe we have a couple more testifiers. I have John Fanning and Christine Noel.
You can say that. It's okay. Mr. Fanning, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, co-chairs and members of the committee. I'm John Fanning. I'm from the Education Partnerships Coalition of Minnesota, or EPC, speaking in support of House File 3650. EPC is a bipartisan coalition of 9 cradle-to-career partnerships in Minnesota. Our collective impact model engages more than 600 local partner organizations and supports more than 300,000 young Minnesotans and their families. EPC communities are in greater Minnesota as well as metro and urban parts of our great state. Our work is relentlessly bipartisan in communities both red and blue. To complement this terrific testimony from our students, so important, I want to talk about an important adjacent topic: money left on the table. I'm talking about the Gates Foundation investing $53 million in the education to workforce space nationwide, with California just getting a whopping $9 million, much more than their proportional share. But there's no investment in Minnesota. I'll take a moment, Representative Mueller, to say it's no accident, right? California has done the work to codify and organize their education to workforce spaces, and the money follows. I'm talking about the Walton Family Foundation just releasing their first round of grants in this space, totaling $7.5 million. 3 of our neighbors are in the room: Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana, all of whom have done some of this work organizing in this space, but no investment here in Minnesota. I'm talking about Kentucky just winning another Toyota plant, their 5th, with a whopping $225 million price tag. Toyota has active plants in 9 states, but none here in Minnesota. it isn't that great work is not happening. You have referenced it. We've heard about it. We're going to hear more about it at the other end of this table. It is definitely happening, and we should be very proud because this work is happening, this very heavy lifting to connect high school to post-secondary to career in ways that are both student-centered and market-driven. It's been happening without enabling legislation like House Bill 3650. Legislation like this matters when national foundations and international corporations make important decisions about where they are going to invest their dollars. And right now, they are consistently passing Minnesota by. Because we all want Minnesota to be the best state in the family into which to raise our children, and because we want this state to be more prosperous and equitable for all, I encourage you to please support this bill. On behalf of EPC, our 9 member organizations, our 600 partners, and 300,000 young Minnesotans and their families, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fanning. Fun fact, I've had a chance to talk to some of the Kentucky folks on those plants, and they've also brought up a lot of advanced manufacturing. One of the things they really like about Kentucky is the work ethic of the coal miners and the next generations. It's an amazing workforce for them. They come in with this incredible work ethic, and one thing that you may not know, or I found out, was when a miner goes down into the mine, they have to be a plumber, an electrician, a welder, and so they have all of these amazing skills. So thank you for referencing that, just fun fact. Christine Noel.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Cretia and members of the committee. My name is Christine Noel, and I'm a Director of Government Affairs for ECMC Group. We are so excited for the opportunity to join previous testifiers, my colleague over here included, in support of House File 3650. And thank you, Representative Mueller, for your passion on this topic. ECMC Group has an overarching mission to help students succeed, and through that mission, we began an effort a few years ago to identify ways we could better partner with and support young adults and community stakeholders in bridging gaps in education and career pathway planning. What we learned is that in some Minnesota high schools, there are students who receive robust career exploration experience starting as early as elementary school. We also heard from young people and secondary school professionals that in some districts, career navigation experience consists of only one conversation in their junior year. And Minnesota already requires that every student in grade 9 through 12 have a personal learning plan. The personal learning plan requires career exploration, course scheduling, and experiential learning, so we already have a foundation to build upon there. What's not in place are the elements that remove constraints and build capacity for schools to deliver this programming more equitably throughout the state. Moving towards a solution and involving the expertise of educators, the business community, and most importantly, young adults themselves, the concept of a statewide career exploration framework designed by young adults for young adults came into view. House File 3650 takes key elements of their ideas and articulates what is needed to build capacity and remove constraints and engage local community strengths to build the future of Minnesota's workforce. The need for House File 3650 is further supported by data we collected last summer through a Harris poll survey of employers and young adults in Minnesota, where the overarching themes are that young adults are very worried about their career prospects, factoring in AI. They don't know if jobs that they prepare for now are going to be available. 7 out of 10 young adults in Minnesota face 2 or more barriers to accessing education and career support, mostly centered on financial pressure, like they may have to work outside of school and cannot take part in some of the activities that are outside of school, like other students. And then employers, the overarching theme was, why don't we give students the opportunity to experiment in career and education pathway planning versus doing that in college where they're experiencing debt? So provide the opportunities available to them, the whole range of options from work-based learning, apprenticeships, 2-year, 4-year certificates, give them the opportunity to experiment in high school, and then they're ready once they complete to make a well-informed decision afterwards. That's it. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. Again, we are very excited about the progress of this bill, and thank you again to Representative Mueller for your advocacy. Thank you.
Very good. And thank you for your testimony. Members, I have 2 more testifiers on the list. I have Josiah Liddett and Caitlin Schneider. So, Caitlin Schneider, you're up.
He's just here for resources.
Okay, great, sorry.
Welcome to the committee, Caitlin Schneider. Please, Ms. Schneider, please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Caitlin Snyder, representing Education Minnesota and our 84,000 educators. Today, I realize we represent 95% of teachers across the state, which is fantastic. We're here today to speak in support of Representative Mueller's bill. You have a real knack for looking at the big picture and bringing all of the elements together, and that is so evident in this bill. A couple of things the committee should keep in mind when we're moving forward with what this will look like on the ground in our schools. The original bill used the term work-based learning. It's not in the amendment, but it's sort of implied in the work that would happen. Our work-based learning teachers are incredibly innovative and smart and thoughtful, and I bet their average age is in the 60s. So that could be an area that the legislature could strengthen our workforce to help deliver these products, or to help deliver this vision. Another issue is that the schools that have the ability to talk to their students about career planning in the early ages are probably having better staffed school counselors. They provide employment opportunities, academic counseling lessons to our students, and which is a lot harder to do if you have 540 students, which is the average school counselor ratio in Minnesota, than if you had 250, which is the expectation, the goal set by the American School Counselors Association. As a reminder to the committee, the only dedicated pot of money for school counselors is about $30 a student. That's in the same pot of money as our school nurses, our school psychologists, and our school social workers. In contrast to private schools, we dedicate $371 a pupil. So this is an area where the state could make a further investment in our public schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider, for your testimony. And with that, members, and did you have any comments you want to add? Otherwise, I can just leave you up as a resource. Okay.
I can make a short statement, Mr. Chair, with permission. Josiah Latant, Executive Director of the Minnesota P20 Education Partnership. I was asked to be here to help answer questions today, which I'm happy to do. I do want to share that I'm excited that this bill aligns strongly with the work of the P20 Education Partnership and appreciate Representative Mueller's work in the amendment to really align it with the work we are doing across the state, looking across broadly education from birth through higher education and into workforce development to think about how we can align systems, reduce redundancy, and ultimately support improved student outcomes and improved economic prosperity for all Minnesotans. So delighted to take any questions relevant to our work as it relates to this bill.
Thank you for your comments. And with that, members, questions before we go to Representative Mueller for closing? Any questions? So Representative Bonner, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think it was addressed in an amendment, but in the bill, it looks like we're removing Deed and Dolly's role in achieving the educational attainment goals. Can you help me understand the rationale behind why we would do that?
Representative Mueller.
Thank you, Chair Krisha. The attainment goals that I received from Office of Higher Education, this was the language they gave me. I didn't create this language. OHE gave me this language. And so you would have to ask them their rationale about that. However, I have a good friend over here that might be able to offer some more support.
Yeah.
And Representative Mueller, did you want me to go to your testifier? Does he have a response?
If you think he wants.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, we do have a representative of OHE here as well, the Assistant Commissioner, Wendy Robinson. If it would be all right, I could ask her to come up.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Robinson, is that correct? Please state your name for the record, and I'll let you answer the question. Okay.
Hello, for the record, my name is Wendy Robinson. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Programs, Policies, and Grants at the Office of Higher Education. And if somebody could repeat the question, that would be very helpful.
Representative Bonner, if you'd repeat the question, please.
Right. So under the bill, we remove the role of Deed and Dolly in achieving the educational attainment goals. And I'm just curious about what the rationale is for removing their role in that pathway. I mean, I support the idea of the bill, but I'm just curious as to why we would take them out of that goal pathway.
Ms. Robinson.
Thank you, Chair and Member. So essentially, when we had the original attainment goal that was written by the legislature in 2015, it was a 2015 to 2025 window. I think that language existed primarily for the data and the reporting piece of it. But as we have done that work and we're looking to continue an attainment goal, we actually get our data about how we're meeting that attainment goal from other sources. So it's not sort of taking them out of the pipeline in terms of their role as a stakeholder and a collaborator that we work with on a variety of programs designed to promote post-secondary attainment and career access. It's primarily more around where do we get the data that tells us how we're measuring that. And so we have some other data sources that we'll be using instead.
Representative Bonner, follow up.
So I'm glad we have multiple sources for data, but I'm still not sure how that, I'm not sure I'm tracking how taking them out of the loop gets us to the attainment goal, even if we're getting source of data from elsewhere, like that. If the point is to reduce silos and increase accountability, which I like, I'm in favor, how does this do that if we take them out of that role?
And Ms. Robinson, if you can answer that, and then we can also, it sounds like this might be a broader discussion than I might have you take offline. But Ms. Robinson, please respond.
Sure, thank you. So I would say as we approach the attainment goal, we recognize that for Minnesota to meet our workforce needs and for us to have the workforce that we need a sizable population, over 70% of our adults, to have some sort of post-secondary education. OHE is not alone in being responsible for meeting that goal, and we know that post-secondary attainment doesn't just happen when students get to college and get through college, right? And so when we envision the next phase of the attainment goal, we've really thought about it comprehensively, that we know that will require us to have sub-goals that happen in K-12. We know that will require alignment with workforce initiatives as well. All of that stakeholder consultation will still happen, and will still go into setting our sort of sub-goals and continuing those collaborations around all of our workforce development initiatives, whether that's sort of called out in that particular line of the attainment goal or not. So there's still going to be partners. It's just a reflection of where we'll be getting the data that we pulled to say whether we've met that goal or not. So they're still involved, because we have lots of collaborations around a variety of programs. Anyways, it's just that's not where we're going to be. That's not who we'll be asking for the data piece of it. So it's really it's sort of removing it from a really narrow section of it.
Megan? Quick follow-up, or are you okay? Okay, thank you.
I will take it offline. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But I think I need a little bit further exploration on that.
Thank you, Representative Bonner. Members, we're going to go to Representative Lee, and then Representative Joachim, and then Representative Bakeberg. I'm going to have you pinch it and close for me. Representative Lee, what's it? Did you have questions, Representative Vernick? I'm sorry, and I missed you again?
Oh.
Did you want to get recognized?
I do, yeah.
Very good. I have you now. Let's go Representative Vernick, then Representative Lee, Joachim Bakeberg. My apologies. I honestly didn't see you.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question. This seems like a heavy lift for P20, so I do sit on the P20. The question I have is, how many staff do you have on P20?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, the testifier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, we have 2 full-time staff.
Representative Vernick.
Yes, thank you. It looks like the report is due January 15th, 2027, which is just a few months away. And I know what you already have on your plate as of today. Without additional funding, right? You don't have a ton of money in the base coming to the P20 every year. Is this doable with 2 staff in the timeframes that are outlined in this bill? Or is this going to be a heavy lift?
And just so I get Mr. Letton, right? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative. It is a heavy lift. It is, as I mentioned earlier, very aligned with the work we do and are already doing. So in that sense, it's a good fit for our work. Given the timeline in the bill, it will require either additional staff support, whether that was a contract person or something like that, or displacing some other work to prioritize this within that time frame, because it is a short time frame.
Representative Vernon.
Mr. Chair, if I would say.
Representative Mueller first.
Thank you. When we talk about funding, in the bill currently right now, it says that the agencies have to use within their existing resources. There are plenty of other organizations that have been already talking to me about how they would like to invest in this type of operation, and so and this type of analysis that P20 is talking about. And so when I wrote the bill, it was with that knowledge in mind, that I have already had private entities coming to me saying that they would like to invest in this type of analysis at this moment.
Thank you for the clarification. Representative Vernon, back to you. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I love the idea of braided funding. It would be nice to have commitment, sort of earlier on. I would also encourage, if we move this forward, that there is funding to P20 to be able to do this. I think it's unfair to add it without additional funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Vernon. Representative Lee?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My question was about that line, 2.13, directing, I think, MDE, DEED, DOLLY, and OHE, and the service cooperatives to use existing resources. I don't think all of these agencies are here, but I mean, I'll note, like, this amendment was, I guess, completed yesterday, and I know the author talked about requesting 2 fiscal notes, but I also do think, like, asking, I think, 5 or 6 agencies to complete a fiscal note in a day is really unrealistic. And so, I'm curious if the agencies can attest that they can use existing resources to carry out the mandates in this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Mueller, did you have you want to answer it? Or
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. It is, we must note that the agencies, like, that part of the bill has not changed. So the agencies have known about this part of the bill since February, when I actually requested my original fiscal note. And I still have not received anything from anyone. When I got a meeting together with all of the agencies together, when I did that, I asked them about what they wanted to do, and no one told me that they were going to need additional funds at that time. That doesn't mean that we don't have to complete a fiscal note. I'm just telling you, informally, they told me, hey, they were focused on looking at the bill and how it could be structured differently. And so that's why we structured it the way we did. But the idea of them working together and implementing a framework, that's something that has been original from the bill. The only thing that's different is the fact that P20 is the one that's doing the analysis, instead of asking for the agencies to be collaborating together and doing that analysis right away.
Representative Lee, follow up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, so I am someone who has been working kind of adjacent to the space because of my interest and passion for making sure that students across Minnesota are, have access to computer science education, and as one of the testifiers said, right, are ready for the economy of the future, where we'll have AI and, like, jobs that we can't even imagine today, right? Like, our kids in 5 to 10 years, will do things that, like, were unimaginable and have careers that, like, they are not learning about during career day. And so I support the intent and the idea behind this. I share Rep. Vernig's concerns that, we don't consistently fund P20. And, when I had my computer science bill, right, like, we created a temporary state task force to come up with standards for the state. And, that cost a significant amount of money. And we knew that, that would happen. So there was investment there. And so, I would just say that, without a fiscal note or without funding, this bill is well-intentioned, but, like, I don't know how, these people are going to do the job that we're asking them to do. So, like Mr. Is it Latente, like Mr. Latente suggested, right? Like, P20 has a pretty wide mandate, and so it's either, right, funding for a contractor or they have a lot of work. Not a wide mandate, but a lot of work. So it's either extra funding for a consultant or reprioritizing work and, like, not doing all the other stuff they're doing. So I just want to make that clear. And so it's not just that there isn't a fiscal note, or like as a matter of practice, but also like we should know what that price tag is before we move this bill to higher ed. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lee. Chair Joachim.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bakeberg, and
That works.
I was looking at Bakeberg's name on the list. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, Chair Krisha. No, thank you for letting us have this
I'm the
robust.
better looking of the two, just so we're clear.
Thank you for having this robust discussion. I think a lot of the concerns that we're having here at the table, and I know Representative Mueller, we did talk, but this is a DE that was posted yesterday at 2:20. And even if some of the stuff for some of the other 4 or 5 agencies, you're asking them to absorb the cost for this work and collaborate, it puts a really heavy burden on P20, who's been doing this incredible work in this space, not just to create a framework, but actually pulling people together to get things done for students. So I'm having a hard time thinking about sending this out to Office of Higher Ed unless we actually have MDE. I asked, and they said we haven't even looked at the cost of this. This amendment just came up. They weren't tracking. I don't know if the chair asked for an amendment fiscal note before it came before committee. Usually, I will ask for a fiscal note if we're going to be moving things, or just so we know, are we having the discussion? We've been laying a lot of bills over on the table because of that. Our fiscal staff is very swamped. But I'm having a hard time with this reworking and putting P20 in the hot seat to do this work when they only have 2 staff members. And while I love the EPCs, they know that. I helped them grow in our 23 and 24 bill, and they do incredible work. This also asks our cooperatives to put in work, and we haven't even really talked to them either. So, or I don't know if that conversation has happened. It sounds like you've pulled the agencies together, but not maybe the cooperatives. And it'd be great if we could get a lot of private funding to do that, but I hate to have them try to turn around, was it 7 months to turn around a report where 4 agencies have to do a look back on every barrier there is to getting into, gotta read what it says, barrier, existing, I'm even confused about that. To clarify, streamline, or better coordinate existing programs supporting career pathways and work-based learning. That's a lot to do in 7 months. Maybe I have to understand a little bit more what this workload would look like for P20. You mentioned having to possibly, Mr. Latant, get a contractor or another whole FTE to do this?
Is that a question? Representative Mueller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I send it over to Mr. Latant, I would like to just give some context over what's happening right now. When I presented this bill in workforce back in February, again, the same thing idea, that part hasn't changed, where the MFA DLI asked to be a part of the bill. They were not a part of the bill at the first time, and DLI asked to be a part of the bill. None of the agencies came at that time to testify against the bill. None of the agencies came to testify against the bill this time, and it has been on the, and they knew it was going to education finance. I know that we were getting putting the final touches on the amendment, but the main part that the agencies are a part of, that part hasn't changed. The only thing that changes is that P20 is going to be creating some recommendations that now the agencies can use instead of them doing the bulk of the work in the first place. So it should actually reduce the cost of what they have to do because P20 is actually doing the analysis for them and putting forth some recommendations. I'd like Mr. Latant to be able to answer as well.
Mr. Latant, did you want to respond to that?
Sure. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair Joachim, thank you for the question. I have not done the analysis on the specifics of what it would take since this amendment was introduced. I did speak with Representative Mueller about the amendment in advance. We'd be happy to do that. We did receive a fiscal note request today, so we will be doing that to provide more details on what that would look like. I will note as I said earlier, this does align with the work that we do. The timeline is part of the challenge, I think, as has been noted by a few members in terms of our staff capacity, and as Representative Vernig mentioned, some of the other things that we are managing. But I would need more time to dig into, give more specifics to answer Chair Joachim's question more precisely.
Very good. Chair Joachim, follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that's my concern too. And looking at lines 4.8 to 415, we are still asking the Commissioners of Education, Employment, Economic Development, Labor and Industry, and Higher Ed to review all the statutes, guidance related to Workforce and Innovation Act and 3 other acts to figure out where there's barriers. So that is a lot of work for agencies. I know it can be frustrating when the agencies don't always get a fiscal note updated right away. Like I said, this is a delete all amendment that came in at 2, and I just don't feel comfortable to have it leave education without getting a fiscal note.
Thank you, Chair Joachim. Just quick comments from me. As I've looked through this, and members, we don't have targets yet. There's lots of steps to review all this. And the reason I'm comfortable with where we are here with this and support this is because I believe the author has been in good faith working with lots of people, and I'd like to see that work continue. In the absence of targets, in the absence of a lot of things, I think there's lots of opportunities to look at how we could do that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the work you've done. Did you?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask for a roll call, please.
A roll call?
Yep.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Representative Bakeberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Mueller. What strikes me with this bill, and I'm on labor and workforce with you, is just the constant collaboration and the wide breadth of support that you've garnered through this. The Chamber of Commerce has testified in support. The Business Partnership, Ed Allies, St. Paul College, P20, Education Minnesota is supportive of this as well. So I guess I want to just thank you for the work that you've done to really look at career pathways and look at how we are preparing kids for their next phase of life in a way that really is all-encompassing. So I appreciate that. Mr. Fanning said something, and we've had lots of conversations. Mr. Fanning, he said, Minnesota is constantly being passed by for these different opportunities. And we have to have an honest conversation about why that is. And you talked about other places, and as an education finance committee, we have opportunities to allocate dollars in a way that prepare kids for the next generation. But mostly what we can do is take the handcuffs off of our schools and allow them to innovate at the local level about what is best for them. I think about Shakopee High School is doing an amazing job with career pathways. Prior Lake is doing an amazing job with their min caps. If we went around the table, our schools are figuring it out and doing an amazing job doing this. But I just have to be honest. I wish we had the same level of concern about mandates on our schools than we have on our agencies. Mr. Uni testified before on a previous bill. If there was a concern, he would have got up there and said that there was a concern. The department would have came and testified. But I heard member after member express concerns that, oh, can't do this. Don't know if the agency is able to do it. How about we have that same level of concern for our schools? The mountain of mandates that have been passed, and no one has an interest to solve those problems. Heaven forbid that we pull back the over 65 mandates. I know that number drives some of you crazy. That's the reality. Let's solve some of those problems. And you know what? If a mandate goes on to an agency, so be it. They'll do what P20 just testified, that they'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to do this, how to write the report. So, Representative Mueller, thank you. Thank you for working in a way that brings people together. And I think Ms. Snyder hit the nail on the head. You bring people together to solve problems. Thank you for doing that. Let's get out of the way.
Chair Joachim, quick comment before I go to closing comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And no, I did not hear Mr. Linton say they'll figure out a way to do this. I heard them say they need the money to do this. I also heard Education Minnesota come up and say, this is great in concept, but we need more counselors to help kids go through their pathways, and we need to invest in that. There's a lot of things we need to invest in. And members, we're not saying that this is a bad concept. We're saying that it needs time to figure out what the cost will be. We're a fiscal committee. We have a deadline that's after the policy deadlines. We're just asking to wait for a fiscal note before we move this on. Thank you.
Representative Mueller, final comments before I call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've thought about this a lot over the last 12 hours as I've been pushing this bill to the finish line. And the truth is that we have a lot of people asking for this to happen. And I have worked really hard to make sure that we have the right people at the table at the right time. We can go ahead and, as Mr. Latant said, if we need to move that date back, that's fine. But moving it to Office of Higher Education, what you asked for in the first place is what gives me time, for that. Our last bill, we heard, hey, we'll go ahead and send it to Ways even before the fiscal note is done. And, oh, well, we don't like to do that, but we'll do that for this one. So members, if we were in a different situation, many of you would be on this bill. I've talked to many of you, and many of you have told me, yes, I'm very interested in this. Let me just get back to you. I'm very interested in this. Let me just get back to you. And only one of you did get back to me. Thank you, Representative Vernick. Thank you. So this vote that you're about ready to take, this isn't about my bill. This is about your word. And the word that you made to me, which is you wanted to send this to Office of Higher Education. That is what your chair told me. And so this is about your word. This is about your integrity. And since we only have our word as currency here in this office, I'm hoping that I can see a lot of green votes today. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And please support the bill.
Representative Mueller renews her motion for House File 3650 as amended be re-referred to the Committee on Higher Education. The legislative assistant will call the roll.
Chair Kresha.
Aye.
Chair Joachim.
No.
Vice Chair Bakeberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Clarity.
No.
Altendorf.
Yes.
Bonner.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Bennett. Aye. DePel.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye.
Green.
Abstain.
Hill.
No.
Hudson.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
Lee.
No.
Knudsen.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Lawrence votes aye.
Mueller.
Mueller votes yes.
Pres Vega.
No.
Quam.
Yes.
Ream.
No.
Ray Rower.
No.
Reimer.
Aye.
Sensor Mura.
Abstain.
Vernig.
No.
So, members, there being fewer than 13, there's 12 ayes, 12 nays, or 9 nays, 3 abstain. There will be fewer than 13 ayes necessary for the motion to carry. The motion does not prevail. With that, the chair lays over House File 3650 as amended. Thank you, Representative Mueller and the testifiers. Representative Scott, Representative Keeler. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Lawrence, Representative Scott. Representative Keeler, you'll be coming up in the next one. My apologies.
It's just, it's not ready.
Members, the next bill on the agenda is House File 1791 by Representative Scott and Representative Lawrence. Representative Lawrence moves House File 1791 before the committee with the chair's intent to lay it over. Representative Scott. Representative Lawrence, please identify yourselves for the record and begin with your presentation, and then we'll move on to testimony. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. It's a pleasure to be here. I served on this committee a few sessions ago, and so it's good to be back. House File 1791 is a unique bill in that it is offering, it wants to offer scholarships or grants to students that participate in a technical or career program within their high schools. And one of the honors that I had recently, along with Representative Lawrence, was to see what's going on at St. Francis High School. He has students there, I have students there, and what you're going to hear today, I think you'll find very interesting and pretty surprising and remarkable. I know I was surprised by what was going on underneath the roof of a high school. So what the bill does is it offers scholarships or grants to students to seniors that participate in one of these programs. And it can also, those funds can also be used not just if they're going on to higher education, but let's say they're going to enter the workforce right away. There may be some things that they need, steel-toed boots, something like that that's very expensive. And what the scholarships would do in these cases is help those kids kind of launch into their careers in a better way. So with that, I will let Representative Lawrence talk some more about the program, and then we have several testifiers.
Very good. And Representative Lawrence, before you start your testimony, just know we're laying the bill over. I only have about 8 minutes for this bill because we do have a very full for the following bill. So my advice is give your testifiers more time than you. Representative Lawrence.
Mr. Chair, thank you for your advice, and I will yield.
Very good. Thank you. So I have a couple of testifiers. Let's come up, and I'm going to give you about 2 minutes each, but I'd just like to keep you moving. So from the Minnesota Precision Manufacturers Association, Steve Kalina. Please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Yes, thank you, Chair Krisha and committee members. I appreciate you hearing House File 1791. My name is Steve Kalina, president of the Minnesota Precision Manufacturing Association, a nonprofit representing all manufacturing in Minnesota, and a lifelong manufacturer myself. Manufacturing is the second largest industry in Minnesota, both in GDP and labor, with concentration in med device, aerospace, and defense. The state has recognized this with programs such as Strive for Five and dual training that focus on workforce and skills development, but many programs do not allow us to focus on K-12, which is a critical gap. Getting kids, teachers, and parents more aware of career opportunities in the skilled trades is crucial to our long-term success in the workforce training programs that many of you have already supported. I work with many high schools, and today we are highlighting just a couple of successful programs. House File 1791 is not just a solution for these schools, but neither is it a solution for all schools in Minnesota. It's simply a solution that allows us to custom fit solutions for different schools, and it becomes another solution in our quiver as we help as many schools and young people as possible. Some of you have toured to schools such as St. Francis and Centennial and schools like them. These are not just programs to train students for a job. They provide industry experience, teaching students about sales, supply chain, engineering, leadership, and of course, hands-on skills, technical skills. They are producing not just workers, but well-balanced employees who understand business, which is not something we often teach to young people these days. And we need the industry, this community needs these programs to succeed. What we're asking here does not cost the state or taxpayers a penny. It allows programs to have the flexibility to use the funds that they have generated to support students as they journey into the next steps of their career. So I have the honor of introducing to you one of these such students, Trevor, who's a testament to what the success of these programs can mean to our industry and Minnesota's economy.
And with that, Mr. Quisnell.
My name is Trevor Cornell. I graduated Centennial High School in 2022 and then went on to Dunwoody College of Technology. One thing that's big in our field is having your own set of tools, and I spent probably $2,500 on a set of tools for myself while having to work and go to school with commutes and everything. And the upkeep of my vehicle, it was very difficult, and having a program where I could have some extra money like this would have been detrimental. I mean, it would have been unbelievable. Would it take stressing off of me? I would have had more time at night to get off work a little earlier, focus on some schoolwork, not have hang out with some friends maybe, and have better tools. Because sometimes the stuff that that is provided for you is not the best. It's been dropped, beaten on, not taken care of. So having extra money like this would be very important.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Quinnell. Mr. Troust and then Naomi. Mr. Troust, is that right? Did I get it right?
Trost.
Troust, please begin. State your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name's Eric Trost. I'm the instructor at St. Francis High School. Saints Manufacturing is a class we currently offer at the high school, and I need everybody to know that it's an elective course, so the students that are in the class have chosen to be there. When we started the class roughly 9 years ago, the goal was to have this run. It's designed to be run like a business. So on the very first day of the class, students are placed into their different departments, so to speak. So I've got some students that want to weld, I've got some students that want to machine. And once they've decided like their kind of career path within our course, then we are able to start looking at our work that we need to take, that needs to happen for throughout the year. So as we are running this year, our biggest customer is actually the state. So we do a lot of work for the Department of Transportation. And within that class, students are responsible to do the estimating. They're responsible for doing all the quoting, ordering the materials, the planning, the logistics as those projects come in. So figure out, does it have to go to the machining department first? Does it have to go to the welding department first? So that is all in the hands of the students. All the time while we're doing this, we're also working on and looking at employability skills. What does it mean to be a successful employee? So with this bill specifically, a lot of my students go to work right away out of high school. Not a lot of my students opt to go to a four-year college. There are a couple, a handful go to a tech college. And in many cases, my students go to work right out of high school, where if they do get the opportunity to go to the tech college, a lot of employers are paying for their tuition this time. So when it comes to this bill specifically, the scholarships is a great option for the students that have chosen that path. But I would say that the grant piece is probably even more important in the sense that a lot of my students go to work right out of high school. So the language is very important when it comes to that. And to best highlight the opportunity that the grant would serve, I think I'll turn it over to Naomi.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Trost. And Naomi, it's practice. You only have to use your first name. Please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Naomi Brasky, and I'm here to share my story. I'm a student at St. Francis High School, enrolled in the Saints Manufacturing class. I'm also enlisted in the Army National Guard as a Chinook helicopter mechanic, and after Army training, I plan to pursue a career in the trades. I've always looked up to my family, especially my dad as a machinist and all the independent women in my family who've worked hard. They've taught me the value of hard work, dedication, and problem solving, and this has inspired me to follow a similar path. And I've always thought it was important to be able to produce the fact to think for yourself. Saints Manufacturing has given me a valuable real life experiences with problem solving, coming up with quick solutions, troubleshooting with trial and error to learn from your own mistakes, customer service experience and dealing with real people, and most importantly, how to have effective communication and a productive work ethic. All of these skills and many more are what I expect of both in the military and the trade workforce. Continuing my education comes with costs. Even with support from the Army, supplies like books, tools, materials, and workwear that aren't covered within tuition would be essential for participation and success. This bill, specifically the grant, would allow me and many students likely to make a difference. It would help with financial barriers and allow me to focus on learning and producing the skills that make me successful in my career and build a stable future for myself. With these grants and scholarships, more students like me would have that same opportunity to become something great. Thank you for your time.
Very good. And Naomi, have you had any chance to work on and do any preliminary stuff with the Chinooks?
I have not yet.
Okay, well, there's a couple Jesus bolts on there that you should know about, and those things are designed to fly apart physically. Helicopters are terrible to work on. But, no, that's awesome gig for you. I'll bring the thank you to the testifiers, and I'll bring Representative Lawrence and Representative Scott back up, and then we're going to go to a couple member questions, and then on to the next bill. So Representative Ingen, and then Chair Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the testifiers. Thank you for the bill, you guys. This is awesome. I saw a recent study, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Gallup. 51% of Gen Zers would now say that college is no longer something that they want to pursue. I mean, that's an incredible stat. And what you guys are doing with your hands, helping the rest of us go about our day-to-day business, means a lot. So I want to say thank you for your work in the National Guard. I want to say thank you for being such a hard student. I want to thank you guys for working your butts off on this bill, because this is common sense, and I'm all on board with it.
Very good. Thank you, Representative Ingen. So before I go to close, to the testifiers and Mr. Kalina, as you and I interacted, I didn't know if I was going to have time to get this on, but your representatives, Representative Scott and Representative Lawrence, know that the job around here starts at no, and so they were able to get you a hearing. So with that, Representative Scott, Representative Lawrence, to close.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. And a couple of things I just want to make mention of. Mr. Trost invited Peggy and several others, myself and several out to his classroom and gave us a tour, took us through the whole process. You got to hear the testimony of that incredible process. They run a very, very, very good program there. In addition to that, this is his idea. This wasn't something that we came up with, but it was brought to us because of his care and his thought for his students and their future success. And they've created a program there that can fund this and reinvest back in those students' future. So I want to thank him and give him the credit for bringing this bill forward. I hope you'll come alongside as well and support this bill. This is a good piece of legislation that supports students in the end. And then I'd also like to take a point of personal privilege, but we have an individual in the audience here today that didn't get a chance to testify, but it's an individual that was a teacher when I was a lone high schooler at Coon Rapids High School. He was a shop teacher, and he comes alongside to hear and support his son and the students here, and he is still lobbying and working because he believes in this program. He believes in this process as well in this legislation. So I'd just like to put a shout out to Mr. Yost, if he would stand, and thank you for being here today as well.
Very good. Very good. And with that, Representative Scott, thank you both. And with that, the chair lays over House File 1791. Thank you for your work. Thank you. All right, and our final part of the agenda, we're going to have these bills informationally. We're not going to actually move them from the committee. So if Representative Knudsen and Representative Keeler would please take the stand.
Statement, maybe. So clear. Or are they going to abstain?
You have the remainder of the committee up until the last minute and a half or so I can let Chair Joachim close out and preview. Whoever would like to begin. Rock, paper, scissors, Representative Knudsen, you win.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. We do have some testifiers, so I'll just make my part really short so we can get them in. But every year since I've been here, we have the conversation about PSEO, and that we keep hearing from our K through 12 schools that things need to change. And that's it. And then we don't do anything and we don't go anywhere, and that's it. So Representative Keeler and I introduced a couple bills, and we're hoping to get those conversations going and to get movement going. So because we introduced those bills, we have had a lot of feedback from higher ed, and I feel like we're finally having those conversations that we need to have in order to make the changes that we need in PSEO to help better serve our students. So with that, I'll set it to
Thank you,
Keeler.
Representative Knudsen. And members, you'll find some helpful information in your packets. Representative Keeler.
Thank you, Chair and members. Similar to what Representative Knudsen says, in my 6 years of being here, there's always been PSEO conversations and questions, and we've been trying to get people from this industry to have conversations with each other. It's not the easiest thing to do. One thing that Ryan Winkler taught me in his time here was if you want people in a community to talk about something, you drop some bills. And so we did that in the efforts for it to be a bipartisan conversation so that this doesn't get caught in politics, but actually doing what is right for our students. And so I appreciate Representative Knutsen's willingness to do this work in this way, trying to continue to do work like Bakeberg and I did a lot of work bipartisanly around attendance, and I think it ended up being well for us when it comes to serving kids. So thank you for the time. Again, it's informational, happy to have input, but we're willing to do this work collectively together as we move forward. Thank you.
Very good, wise words. So let's go Mr. Nathan, Mr. Arneson, Mr. Nelson, and then Mr. Haig. And then I'll try to make sure I have some time for questions. But Mr. Nathan, please state your name for the record and begin your testimony. And Mr. Arneson, if you could come up as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joe Nathan. There's a little bit more about me. I've been a public school educator at K through 12 and college and university level for more than 35 years in Minnesota. I've been asked by the National Governors Association to be in charge of a major national report. This was requested by both the Republican then chair, then Governor Lamar Alexander, and then co-chair Bill Clinton. There's more about me there. I deeply appreciate the opportunity to discuss this. As the two representatives have said, this has been a discussion that's been going on for 40 years. So, first, are there some areas of agreement on a bipartisan basis? Yes, there sure are. First, we deeply appreciate the legislators' recommendation to have a study conducted by the Office of Legislative Auditor. That was done 30 years ago. It had some helpful advice. We think that that would be a great idea. Secondly, on House File 4270, this is a discussion about how reimbursement ought to take place. Once again, we think that's a very valuable conversation. We think a very good place to have that is in the Office of Legislative Auditor. There's also been a bill moving ahead with several of you, including Representative Vernick, as chief author, that talks about a task force. That could be more expensive, it could be more unwieldy, but we are open to either approach. PSEO serves many purposes. You've been talking a lot today about how to spend money. This is actually a law, 40 years old, that saves the taxpayers of this state for $15 million a year and saves families $60 million a year. How can that be? Because the dollars follow the kids, and that's the crux of the debate. Should the dollars follow the kids, or should there be an additional appropriation? That's a great question. A number of us have suggested putting some more money into the K through 12 formula, and we would hope that that would be part of the discussion. So, where are some areas of further discussion that are needed? House File 4232 has some excellent ideas about increased conversation between high schools and colleges. In fact, my colleague, Kalik Rogers, who is the executive director of Catalyst for Systems Change over here, is offered to provide some assistance if the other K through 12 and higher education groups would like. We would be glad to convene a conversation this summer involving students, parents, educators from the K through 12 and higher education system to discuss what are the best ways to have increased communication between the K through 12 and higher education systems. There is, however, several concerns which I want to mention. House File 4232 says that there will no longer be the option to do PSEO full-time. That's a deep concern. I want to tell you about 3 young people of the almost 300,000 who have participated in this. There's, for example, Maureen Rios from a low-income family in a suburb here. She was bored in high school. She took PSEO full-time. She earned an AA degree when she graduated from high school. She earned a BA degree at the University of Minnesota. She was invited to apply to MIT. She received a full scholarship. She will soon complete a PhD in metallurgy engineering at MIT, a bored young woman who did PSEO full-time. There's another young man from very near the chairperson's district who was bored, was an attendance problem, and agreed reluctantly to take what is he called dummy English, dummy math, and dummy social studies in the morning, and then work outside the home and work outside the school in the afternoon. This is the so-called WESAP, or Work Experience Program. Dummy English, dummy math, and dummy social studies is what he called it. He was so good at the McDonald's where he worked, near where where the chair district is, he was so good that the fast food franchise made him a manager at the age of 18. But when he heard about PSEO, he said, I'll work at night and do PSEO full time. Although his grades were lousy in high school and would have disqualified him in some respects in some of the bills that you are considering, although his grades were lousy and his class rank was lousy, he was on the dean's list. He earned straight A at the University of Minnesota. We need to have that as an option.
And Mr. Nathan, I'm going to have to, just in the interest of time, I'm actually going to go to the two principals, and you can hang around if there's questions to come back to you. But and then I'll come back to Mr. Anderson. If you have a quick closing comment, please do so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One of the issues that you've heard about is the attainment goal. We could have made more progress in the attainment goal if we had the required legislative information provided to the students of this state. For 8 years, we've had a mandate that required information is provided, must be provided, and the Minnesota Department of Education has been very clear about what that required information is. In the handouts, you'll see two examples. I wish these were outliers. The majority of the districts in this state are not providing basic information, even though it's required under state law, and I appreciate the issue about mandates. But it is required under state law to provide information to students. You can see two of the examples in this state. The majority of districts in this state are not providing information that's required under state law, such as 10th graders can participate, such as you can participate in extracurricular activities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We would be making more progress if we had a state agency that was enforcing the law. I can say more, but I appreciate your time on your
Thank you,
point
Mr.
about
Nathan.
time.
And I'm down to seconds, otherwise I'd let you go. Let's go to Mr. Nelson and then Mr. Haig.
Chair Kreshaw, members of the committee, in the interest of time, I'll just kind of summarize. I've really appreciated today being in this committee and listening to all the programs that are presented. It warms my heart as an educator to hear you talk about expanding opportunities for students, and we appreciate that. As a principal, I would say that we do a better job of navigating what was just being discussed in individual student challenges at the school level rather than the legislative level. And one of the things that's happened with PSEO across the state of Minnesota is that students are beginning to bypass the counseling opportunities, the things you've heard about, the expanding of programs, not always fully well informed about those opportunities, and they go to PSEO, and sometimes that doesn't work out. We're certainly not saying that's a majority. We believe that concurrent enrollment and PSEO are a viable part of what happens at the secondary level. It's an important part of what happens. I can tell you at Pequot Lakes that we can offer students the opportunity at college credit through concurrent enrollment at approximately $39 a credit. Versus what they would pay in PSEO, which is $261 a credit. For 7 times less, we're able to give them the same opportunity. And that's really what the K-12 schools and principals are looking for, is that ability to have some controls and management over the opportunities that we provide students. And most importantly, that we do it in a more cost-effective manner than maybe what PSEO is being promoted as. And certainly, we're not looking to take away all those limitations, but when it doesn't work, and schools are often required to remediate, those costs fall back on the schools for what is a state-mandated responsibility, which is the education of students. Colleges don't have that same accountability. They're issuing the college credits. When the student doesn't work out, the students come back to us. Now, not only did we give up funding for those students to do the PSEO, now we remediate them with no additional funding associated. So in summary, I would say the bills that Representative Keeler and Representative Knudsen have put together, very favorable in trying to fix some of these problems in a small way. I am very much in support of others that mentioned here, Office of Legislative Auditor evaluation of the system. We would very much support that.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And Representative Haig, I'm sorry, I've got about a minute and a half for you. And Mr. Arneson, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get back to you, so you can send us emails. Mr. Haig?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Creasy and committee members. I'm Josh Haig. I am the 912 principal at Moorhead High School. I've been in education for 26 years, the first 6 as a classroom teacher, the last 20 now as administrative role, both in small rural districts and now in a little bit bigger, more urban setting. PSEO is and continues to be a valuable option for many of our students. I think as Mr. Nelson said, another thing that we find is the cost difference for even in Moorhead. I pay anywhere between $200 to $400 per credit for PSEO, depending on what institution our students are using. We have an agreement with M-State when it comes to concurrent enrollment where we pay closer to $20 per credit. That's not, that's not just a marginal difference. That's a dramatic difference in both cost efficiency and student reach. Not only does that, but there's the other benefits in regards to it keeps students in our classrooms, it keeps students connected to their teachers, their peers, their support systems. For many students, particularly those that they may not be ready to navigate that full college environment yet, this provides a more structured supportive pathway to success. As policymakers, we're tasked with not only expanding opportunity, but also ensuring that our investments are sustainable and equitable. With that in mind, just a couple considerations. Preserve PSEO as an important option for students, but examine the funding structure and ensure that it reflects both benefits and at significantly higher cost. A more balanced approach could help manage the long-term financial impact. Second, increase the investment in concurrent enrollment programs. That includes supporting teacher credentialing, expanding partnerships with colleges and universities, and ensuring that rural and smaller districts have equitable access. Third, provide greater transparency around program costs and outcomes. Clear, comparable data on PSEO and concurrent enrollment can help districts, families, and policymakers make more informed decisions. And then finally, consider the policies that incentivize the expansion of high-quality, cost-effective programming within high schools while still preserving student choice. The goal is not to limit access, but to broaden it. I think in the end, we all share the same goal. We want to provide meaningful, rigorous opportunities that prepare students for success after high school. By balancing access, quality, and cost, we can ensure these opportunities remain strong, equitable, and sustainable for years to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you to everyone, and thank you for your testimony. Representative Keeler, Representative Knudsen, glad to see you working together. I'm sorry I won't be able to get back to you, but please keep talking to us. With that, members, if you'll give me just one more minute, we're going to go to Chair Youakim for a preview before we adjourn.
Great, I'll be quick. We have the forecast article up and a few bills. Everything was posted last Friday.
Thank you, Chair Youakim. And with that, thank you, members. This concludes our business for today. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 26, 2026. This committee stands adjourned.